It's your good friend and neighbour, Old Fowley. Here at German Sense of Humour Productions, we tend to like to keep things pretty light-hearted. Happy, merry and gay. That's our policy. But this week we have to put a hold on the jocularity and merrymaking to discuss a serious issue. A dark, secret fear of many members of the VC, which has festered for too long undiscussed in shadowed corners of the community. And this edition will, hopefully, shine a light on this unspoken horror and offer some sort of understanding, solace, and perhaps the glimmer of a way out from its uncountable sufferers. Let's give this fear a name and say it out loud. The fear of abduction by time-travelling aliens. Don't laugh, it happened once to a friend of mine. That terrible fear of being swept up in a chronic hysteresis.
Oh no. It couldn't be a chronic hysteresis, could it?
And transported back in time to the early 1970s in Australia, and being separated by an ocean of time and space from your vinyl collection. You're a stranger in a strange land. Television is in black and white. All the men have moustaches and a terrible socialist government is tearing apart the fabric of society. And you have no tunes. And you need some tunes fast. Well, fortunately, thanks to the fine folks at Majestic Records and later Polydor, Polystar and K-Tel, Majestic was the local distributors for K-Tel, there was a steady stream of the latest original hits available on compilation albums that could keep you grooving like the grooviest groover for just a mere handful of your then Australian dollary dues. So, despite being hopelessly deracinated and lost in time, you could still have the latest hip tunes playing at your dinner party, euchre night, or keys in the punch bowl swingers soirees as were so common in the early 70s, or so they would have us believe, and no one would ever know that you were some alien abductee from the future. Here is a selection from my collection of these wondrous, wondrous recordings.
Instant 1970s Australian record collection.
I'm a bit of a fetishist for these records, and given they were toted around at countless parties and strewn across endless teenagers' bedroom floors, they can be a little bit hard to find these days in good condition. And while these albums crammed on the hits, there would inevitably be compromises made. The songs are occasionally obviously and unsubtly edited or faded, and the dynamics aren't great. The packed grooves meant the bass response isn't stellar and the volume can be a little bit peaky, so there's a little bit more noise involved. But then again, they weren't meant as an audiophile experience, and the audience of young teens who usually bought these were playing them on plastic AWA record players which were not known for their acoustic subtleties. The records were usually very well curated, with a selection of hard rockers, top radio hits, a bit of AOR, and a healthy representation of local acts, and some genuine oddities. They are, in a lot of cases, the sole readily available sources for a lot of long out of print and long forgotten Australian acts. These records were not like the British Top of the Pop series, which hired sound-alikes and sound not at all alikes to recreate the hits of the day. They were, for the most part, the same original record by the same original artist. Occasionally, you'd have an original recording by a B or C tier artist who was covering a more famous artist, but it was still an original recording. And generally, you knew exactly what you were getting when you bought one of these albums. Every album was accompanied by a slightly hysterical television ad campaign, and some of them, like 1974's Bobby Dazzler or 1971's 25 Polka Greats, which we won't be featuring today, were really big sellers. And by 1981, Polystar's Hitwave 81 became the first such album to make #1 on the national charts. In 1983 alone, 6 compilation albums made #1, and in 1984, Choose 1985 made #1 for 9 weeks across the end of 1984 and beginning of 1985. So, if you're suddenly compelled once again to be living in the 70s, you can't just turn up and have all the hot hits on tap in one single place and not have any musical backstory. So in order to do that, I would recommend taking possession of this album, 20 Power Hits, which is one of the finest albums in the entire festival stable. Now just check out what's on this. It kicks off with Something in the Air by Thunderclap Newman, Ragamuffin Man by Manfred Mann, Hayride by the Flying Circus, a #2 Australian hit, Mendocino by the Sir Douglas Quintet, a Stone classic.
Stone Classic!
A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash. There's All Along the Watchtower from Jimmy Mama Jumpin' Hendrix. St. Louis from the Easy Beats. I'm Gonna Make You Mine by Lou Christie. The Real Thing by Russell Morris. There's Sly and the Family Stone, Doug Ashdown, and Aretha Franklin. So when people come over to your place to check out your record collection, they're going to see that you have a little bit of history, a little bit of provenance, and they're not going to suspect in any way that you suddenly just appeared through a fissure in the space-time continuum. When it comes time to dazzle your new friends and party guests with how up-to-date and hip you are, there are 2 albums you need to own. 20 Dynamic Hits says right here on the back, outstanding value with the electrifying sound of today. We are advised to sit back and let ourselves go with Majestic's Now sound. From beginning to end, an electrifying experience. Get used to the word electrifying. Stacked with big hits by T-Set, Vanity Fair, Shocking Blue, Blue Mink, Blood, Sweat and Tears and Janis Joplin. This is a 1-record edition of The Past is a Foreign Country. Plus some Aussie hits that have long been forgotten by 2025 by the likes of Ronnie Byrne, Ross D. Wiley, Johnny O'Keefe and Cole Joy. There were the big radio hits from Mark Lindsay, ex of Paul Revere and the Raiders, Ray Stevens and B.J. Thomas. This one is a little more mellow than the Live Wire 20 power hits, good for after dinner party drinks or slow dancing on your brand new brown shag pile carpet.
Are you tired of dancing alone? Wish you had all the latest hits to impress your friends at parties? Well, the wait is over. 20 electrifying hits, 20 original hits, 20 original artists. Look at these stars: Eric Burdon and War, Joe Cocker, Shocking Blue, Liv Mason, Jimmy Cliff, Johnny Cash, and many more. Only $3.99, so even cheap-ass bastards like you can afford it. 20 electrifying hits. Get it now and be in with the in crowd. Another fine product from Majestic Records.
So you've managed to fake your way through 1970 successfully, but 1971 is an altogether different proposition. Sexy Sonia McMahon was shaking it up in the lodge. Germaine Greer was expanding female minds with her feminist writings. And Premier Joe Bjelke-Peterson decided to unleash his new model army on local anti-apartheid protesters. You have no time for this. You're a local swinging individual. You keep your record collection up to date, and well, Majestic Records to the rescue once again. 20 Solid Hits Volume 1 is the first record I ever owned, and if you're a stranded time traveller in 1971, it's really the only one you need. I don't think Volume 1 exists, oddly, but this one has winner after winner after winner on it, led by big acts like Frida Payne, Elton John, Cat Stevens, Free and the Osmonds. It has the big hits from Lynn Anderson, the Bee Gees and Jimmy Cliff, great Aussie content from Chain, Flake and Jeff St. John, and a terrific obscure find in Diane Colby with her huge, powerful voice. The only tiny bugaboo I have with it is that the version of Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, this is Lally Stott's version, not Middle of the Roads, which was the hit locally. Note the prominent ad for the Space Age Record Selector, which works like a computer and holds a massive 24 records.
You can get it getting your kicks on. You can get it meeting with Nixon. You can get it freeing the sisters. You can get it being a resistor. A big song thirst needs a dynamic album. 20 dynamic hits. Dynamic hits, dynamic stars. Daddy Cool, Janis Joplin, Elton John, Cat Stevens, Rick Springfield, Olivia Newton-John, and many more. Still only $3.99. That's $1 cheaper than Led Zeppelin. Another quality product from Majestic Records.
"1973 was a difficult year. The Opera House opened, and for all of our foreign friends, if you've never seen the Opera House up close, while it looks great on a postcard with the sunset in the background, when you get up close to it, it's really a bit dirty and old and shabby, and bits are falling off it. Patrick White won a Nobel Prize, and our last troops came home from Vietnam in June. Festival upped its game with the mighty Superband, with hard rockin' tracks from the mighty Slade, Bluestone, Brian Cadd, Thumpin' Pig and Puffin' Billy, who are Warren Morgan and Billy Thorpe from the Aztecs, and Albert Hammond, while the AOR kept flowing with G. Wayne Thomas, Linda George, Loudon Wainwright and the Troubadours. The Aussies are here in spades with the Bootleg Family, Mr. George, a pretty good pop group from Sydney who just absolutely disappeared, John English, and Doug Parkinson's excellent version of Dear Prudence. A couple of solo Osmonds travesties notwithstanding, it's a very fine and consistent album.
Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, The Beatles. None of these rubbish bands are on Dynamic Hits Volume 3, the hardest rocking album of 1973. We've got Blackfeather, Billy Thorpe, Argent, Lobby Lloyd and the Coloured Balls, Looking Glass, even Sammy Davis Jr. These are the bands the other bands wish they were. Still only $3.99, but not for much longer. Another fine product from Majestic Records.
In 1974, K-Tel took over from Majestic as distributors of this type of album in Australia and entered the market with two outstanding offerings. First up, we had Unreal, which was a great selection of rockers, local talents and a few solid radio hits. The rockers included 48 Crash by Suzi Quatro, See My Baby Jive from Wizard, Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group, Smokin' in the Boys' Room from Brownsville Station. We also had top Australian acts like Cash Backman, who was the all-Aussie country singer, who had rather a difficult time on occasions hiding a strong German accent, Brian Cadd, Judy Stone and Sherbet with the hard rockin' So Glad You're Mine. There were also big radio hits there from Vicki Lawrence, the wonderful Skydiver from Daniel Boone, which I would have bet money was from 1972, Osmosis with She Didn't Even Remember My Name, a one-hit wonder from South Africa, and the wonderful Stylistics with Rock and Roll Baby. But they really went over the top with the almost cultural phenomenon that was Bobby Dazzler. In 1974, everybody owned a copy of Bobby Dazzler and Hot August Night. They were the standard party records for grown-ups. Now, Bobby Dazzler isn't as hard rockin' as Unreal was. There's really only Suzi Quatro with Daytona Demon and Golden Earrings Radar Love that stand up as hard rockers, but there are some wonderful pop hits from Kiki Dee, Brian Ferry, the Rubettes and Steelers Wheel. But there's a swathe of Aussie talent with Miss Linda George, William Shakespeare with the wonderful Can't Stop Myself From Loving You, possibly, I think, one of the greatest records Vanda and Young ever made. There's Sherbet with Slipstream, one of their best. There's Olivia Newton-John and Brian Cadd with absolutely his best, Let Go. But there are some shockers there too. There's Creation, allegedly New Zealand's top prog band, with an inexplicable version of Tell Laura I Love Her. And unfortunately, there's also the egregious Paper Lace with their most egregious song, The Night Chicago Died. But on the whole, Bobby Dazzler deserved the cultural adulation that it received back in '74.
Ever feel like you're going to blow your top if you don't get some hot molten rock action? Well, sweet relief is finally at hand with Explosive Hits 74. Feel the rock eruption with Suzi Quatro, ZZ Top, Stevie Wright, Hot Chocolate, Grand Funk Railroad, Alvin Stardust, and many more. Explosive Hits 74, only $5.99. I blame the government. Another quality product from the good people at EMI Records.
Welcome to the dive.
1975 was the year of the Dismissal, Lily and Tomo, and the mighty SLR 5000 tranny. And you, having survived 5 years of utter discombobulation, have amassed quite the record collection. But it's about to get a lot bigger. The success of Bobby Dazzler led to an explosion in the market from 1975 onward, as K-Tel, Polydor, Polystar and EMI Australia entered the marketplace. And as disco exploded in subsequent years, the Dance All Night compilation album also proliferated. K-Tel and Majestic teamed up in 1975 with the excellent Mindbender. Again, less rock and more pop, but studded with hits. Kung Fu Fighting by Carl Douglas, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Elton John and Rod Stewart. But it's the Aussie contingent that shines. Skyhooks, Stevie Wright, Brian Cadd, Sherbet, Olivia Newton-John, Doug Parkinson, and my favourite Bee Gees song, Mr. Naturally Swan, Stephanie DeSykes, and the 3 Degrees provide the pop fluff. EMI, who later came to dominate the market with Polystar, with Screamer, a harder rocking selection with AC/DC, Suzi Quatro, Stevie Wright and the Glitter Band, as well as big hits from the Bay City Rollers, Pilot and Glenn Campbell. It's telling that at this point Albert Records seemed to have switched allegiance from Majestic to EMI here, with AC/DC, Stevie Wright and John Paul Young popping up. Little River Band here too to swell the local contingent. There's also some disposable pop fluff from Austin Roberts and Peter Shelley, but Jesse Coulter's here to keep it real, and there's Roger Whittaker for the mums.
Hello, Australia. It's me, Conrad, from your new friends at Polydor Records. Some people say V are a heartless multinational conglomerate, but nothing could be further from the truth. Here at Polydor V have the finest music at our disposal for the making of the popular albums for you to dance to, like this one. Wopper. Wir have the Skyhooks, die schöne Fraulein Olivia Newton-John, Bee Gees, Discotheques, unsere Sex Olads, Do the Hustle mit Van McCoy, und the Shirley and Company with Shame, Shame, Shame. They have ways of making you dance. Yeah, another fine product for Polydor music. The rock that will last 1,000 years.
But the real outlier here is tucked away at the end of side 1, a 3-minute 20 version of Autobahn. Nothing says welcome your new European overlords like the hypnotic pulse and cold sterility of Kraftwerk. We'll finish up in 1976. You should be thoroughly acclimated by now with one of the titans of the 70s, Polystar's Ripper 76. Polystar was another German label and was part of the Universal Music umbrella. Its predecessor, Ripper, which was issued in 1975 on Fontana, caused a minor controversy in which the young lady on the cover had a considerably skimpier pair of denim shorts with a much bigger hole in them. Ripper 76 was a top album. The only right-out rocker on it was Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy, but Sherbet, Billy Thorpe, Skyhooks, Bee Gees and John English flew the Aussie flag. There were big hits on it from Maxine Nightingale, Elvin Bishop, Fox, Roxy Music, Nazareth, 10cc, and Billy Ocean Will Keep You Dancing, and Donna Summer Keeps the Disco Vibes Flowing. The only real duffer is Darryl Braithwaite's absolutely abysmal contribution. So, as 1976 turns to 1977, you are thoroughly established as a mid-70s Australian, but the first golden age of the compilation album is over. There'll still be the odd good one from Polystar, but the slump in the Australian industry after the effects of the radio ban wore off in the late 70s meant there were fewer and more mid-rating albums issued between 1977 and 1979. The 80s, however, saw a huge resurgence, especially when EMI became a big player in the game, culminating in Choose 1985, spending 9 weeks at number 1 across 1984 and 1985. Good luck getting back to your own time. Here's a tip though. Take all the money you save buying these discount records and get it on Piping Lane in the 1972 Melbourne Cup at 40 to 1. You'll do fine.